Welcome to Bonehead. This week's topic is, that's right,
Arr, me matey.
our
Arr.
80s,
Pyros?
our pyros. We're going to be talking about our people, talking about the people who love to start fires.
And start.
I
Drew
Barrymore in Firestarter.
I started a stopwatch.
Okay. So pirates, we've never done pirates. And when I started looking at my favorite pirate movies, I love pirates, but I tell you, there sure are a shit ton of bad pirate movies.
Yeah, that was going to be my main part of the conversation is why is it so hard to make a good pirate movie?
Why is it so damn hard? Well, they're expensive as shit.
Well, they are expensive, but we could do another whole segment about movies that take place on ships. There are great movies that take place on the ocean.
You ever see that Master and Commander?
I was just thinking Master and Commander.
Yeah.
And then there's the oh my God, I had it in my head and I'm throwing out the Ron Howard movie about that's like a take
Captain
on Moby
Ron.
Dick. No,
Captain
the one
Ron.
with Chris Helmsworth. Anyway, the one about that one's a good film. That's kind
Heart
of
of the Sea. Heart of the Sea.
Thank you, Heart of the Sea. That's been forgotten, and it's
Not
actually
as good as Captain Ron.
I don't remember anything about Captain Ron.
It has Kurt Russell in it.
I'm aware of who it has in it.
And Martin Short. What do you want, James?
Do you think that
No,
Captain,
not really.
Well, you probably should start. But
Only
then
about
again,
the calamari.
we don't want
chewy.
we don't want to set off the smoke alarm, so don't think too hard. Do you think though that pirate films are just one of those things that ebb and flow?
Yeah,
I mean, there's definitely
Have they ever though? I mean, have there ever been
Oh, yeah,
have
yeah.
there ever been
But
other than like the 40s or 50s, 40s and 50s, has there been a glut of pirate movies though?
what the 30s you had because
there's a lot of
Errol
treasure.
Flynn.
There's a lot of treasure islands.
Well,
Well,
we're going to get into that and
Yeah,
another movie that they won't leave alone.
right.
Errol Flynn's big break was not Robin Hood. He was already famous by the time Robin Hood was made. His big break was Captain Blood.
Right.
Oh my goodness, Captain Blood.
And so after Captain Blood, you see kind of matter of fact, he would be a pirate again in the Seahawk in 1941. So, I mean, it seems to circle back around a couple different times. And then he does a pirate film again over a decade later. It's not overly good.
I don't think I've actually seen Captain Blood, guys.
I don't think I have.
Oh,
either.
Captain Blood you should see Captain Blood. I mean, a lot of the pirate pastiche comes from Captain Blood. So yeah, if you haven't seen Captain Blood, matter of fact, actually Captain Blood, if I remember correctly, is based on a book by Raphael. Anyway, and Errol Flynn was cast. He was largely an unknown then, but the film was a pretty big hit. It starred Olivia de Havilland.
Olivia de
Havilland.
Yes, thank you.
I have seen Captain Blood, by the way. Now that you said it,
And it's Raphael Sabatini.
Thank you. And I own actually somebody
just go
gave
Sabatini.
Sabatini.
somebody gave me a paperback of that old edition.
And it was the screenplay was actually written by the even more Italian Casey Robinson.
no, it's pronounced Cassie.
Casey Robinson. That sounds awful. Casey Robinson.
So then there was a Seahawk.
Yeah.
And then
He's going to do all the movies, James.
Near the end of his career, there was
Rape
Against
Trials.
All Flags, which is his last pirate film. That being said, do you think you need Errol Flynn to make pirate films popular? And then do you think maybe there's another actor that comes along in a certain Disney film?
Yeah, I want to get to that
revitalizes it. So maybe that's the problem. Do we need certain actors that can play? Because Errol Flynn did a pretty good job playing a swashbuckler and yet a scallywag.
Right. Well, let's start and go from there because I want to get to the Pirates movies, and by that I mean that ones of the Caribbean.
Yeah, I know, Cutthroat Island. That's all you want to talk about, Joe. That's why you pitched this entire.
Rennie Harlan. We're friends on Facebook. He's expecting a new kid. We're not.
You
really
say new
friends.
kitty?
New kid. New.
Oh,
child.
I'm more excited by the kitty. You ever see what kitties get into? Oh, they're memeable. Much more memeable than them children. My kids ain't gone viral once.
James,
well, they got a virus.
They get the virus. James, you want to go first?
Yeah.
That's a no. Chad, you want to go first?
Go ahead, Chad. You go first. Why do I always have to go first?
Man, I don't know where to start.
Well, fine. I'll start first.
Oh, okay.
So we were just shitting on Treasure Island and not the casino, but the
we weren't really shitting on it, but just there's a shit ton of them.
Well, that's what I meant by shitting on it. I'm not. It's Robert Louis Stevenson. There's a bunch of them. Now, I watched this with my kid.
Does anybody have a count, by the way? I didn't look it up. How many Treasure Island?
I didn't, but I can in a second. But let me get through this and we'll go back to it. The thing is my kid likes pirate movies for some odd reason. And we showed him, we were trying to find different treasure islands for him to watch because he enjoyed he enjoyed one or two of the Pirates of the Caribbean films. And I was like, well, I actually can't remember. I don't think I've ever watched all the treasure islands. And what I'm going to bring up is, do you guys mind just ever go blank right as you were saying something? 1934's treasure.
Every episode we do this.
And 1934's Treasure Island starred is Wallace Beery and Jackie Cooper.
I actually can only find 4 Treasure Islands.
There's got to be more. And Jackie Cooper played a young Jim Hawkins, and he was fairly. Billy Bones was played by Lionel Barrymore. Now, what's interesting about this one is I enjoyed it. They changed a little bit at the ending. But what I liked about it was a little bit of the history of it. So we most of us know they go off to an island. Long John Silver's playing both sides. James, am I missing anything? And then giving us all those chicken planks.
Yeah, Long John Silver's. That's
delicious hush puppies. Anyway, so Jackie Cooper and Wallace Beery Wrestling Pictures, if you're familiar with it, it's John Goodman talks about him in Barton Fink. You guys remember this? Wallace Beery Wrestling Picture. I love those. He hated Jackie Cooper and treated him like shit and tried to steal the movie away from this child. Did you guys ever read anything about this?
No,
but I don't doubt any of it.
I just thought it was hilarious. Wallace Beery treated him like shit. It's actually directed by Victor Fleming. And if you don't know who Victor Fleming is, he's one of the 15 directors that directed Gone with the Wind. He's the one that ended up with the actual credit.
Huh.
So that one's one of the ones of Treasure Island I like, but I know a lot of people like the Disney version. Does any one of you want to talk about the Disney version?
I'll let James, because I'll be completely honest with you. I am not a Treasure Island fan. I never have been.
I like the story and I enjoyed it watching it. Jackie Cooper is another interesting story. If you actually go through his life, he was a child actor. And of course, what happens to child actors back in the day?
Nothing
good. Nothing bad happens to him, right?
Nothing bad happens to him. Just like there's nothing wrong with a train, and you should never ever say anything bad about a train because trains are holy creatures and clean.
So, do you want to talk about the other treasure islands?
I will talk about the most important treasure island.
Which one?
That would be the one with Tim Curry as Long John Silver. Is hands down one of my favorite. It's the only one that made Treasure Island a musical that I enjoy. Absolutely. And that would be Muppets Treasure Island. Speaking of Disney, that's the Disney version I want to talk about.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen Muppets Treasure Island, why are you listening to our crappy show? Go watch Muppets Treasure Island. It's a class. Literally, every time I watch it, I'm like, just the cast on that. It's just a lot of Billy Connolly as Billy Bones. The lead into, of course, the story is this classic Treasure Island story, but it has all the great tunes. It actually has some great points about historical pirates. There's an entire song about when you're a pirate, and they name check Sir Francis Drake and actually make a great point why Sir Francis Drake knighted. It's because to the English, he was a hero. It was only the Spanish that considered him a pirate. Why? Because, well, he attacked Spanish ships. So, of course, the English loved him, right?
Yeah.
It's just a fun, and I do quotes from it quite often with my kids, just because it's just a quotable, fun movie. And anytime Tim Curry is chewing scenery in that movie in the best of ways, it's just a lot of fun. It was a worthy follow-up to Muppets Christmas Carol. Some people don't feel that way, but I do. I don't think you can get a better, a better, newer take on Long John Silver than what you get with Tim Curry doing it. And of course, the Muppets just make it great. It's just a lot of fun. There's, again, tons of throwaway lines that you can use, such as we're in a room with a dead guy. And of course, Billy Connolly, as he's dying in character, says, Jim, one more thing. And, he's slowly, they think he's fading away, and goes, what, Mr. Bell? Don't run with scissors. I mean, it's a stupid line.
You had to be there.
But it's great. It's great. If you've never seen Muppets Treasure
Island, I have. I
should.
When he got on that pirate kick, I actually was sitting here and I looked it up. I'm sorry, I was typing. I didn't think I had saw Disney's Treasure Island in a long time, and I'm wrong. Actually, we saw it right after we watched that black and white version. We showed it to him, and it's fairly close. I mean, most of them are the same. They don't change a lot, do they?
Yeah, well, and by the way,
Long John Silver kind of goes back and forth. He's a classic anti-hero. He's not really, well, actually, he's pretty much a bad guy.
Well, and speaking of that, you also, though, have, I mean, they went back to that well. Disney, matter of fact, should just admit that they live in a world of Treasure
Your imagination.
Because they also gave us Treasure Planet.
Yep.
Which is just Treasure Island again.
That's the last hand-drawn one before The Princess and the Frog.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yeah. And I mean,
after Stitch. It came that year after Stitch. That fall.
And so, I mean, again, you have young Jim Hawkins. It's just set in space. They're going to try to find this planet where this treasure is supposed to be. You have Long John Silver. And it was a box office disappointment. Cost $140 million to make, only made back $190 million.
I think it was the nail in the coffin of hand-drawn animation.
Which is funny because it does have this kind of diehard following now.
Does it really? I tried watching. I couldn't get into it.
There is actually a lot of people say the soundtrack to it's great. I'll be honest. I don't know if I've ever seen it. I prefer Titan
I've never seen it. I've never seen all of it.
I've never seen all. I like Titan AE, and it kind of came out the same thing. But I mean,
I saw Treasure Planet when it first came out, but I haven't watched it since. No, it was, but it didn't do anything for me because, again, I am not a Treasure Island fan. I just never have been.
Don't you like pirates, Chad? They're fun and adventure.
There are probably 3 or 4 pirate movies I like, so I'm going to talk about those.
Well,
you go.
And so, in a world of what could have been, though, giving Treasure Planet its due, before it failed, they had actually planned to launch it as a franchise.
Yeah.
And the sequel was going to be about Jim having to go back and get Long John Silver and team up against the cyborg Ironbeard. And they were going to have to stop him from freeing the inmates of Botany Bay, which is a prison asteroid.
Oh, it's also a head shop in Lexington.
Yep.
Every time,
they don't sponsor this show, but
they don't, which is why every time that commercial comes on, they'll have a thing that comes on, or there's actually a radio that it broadcasts out of Botany Bay Studios. And my constant response to that is Botany Bay, we've got to get out of here. And then Khan comes up and puts a worm in Mayor.
Yeah, that's for you Trekkies out there. All right, Chad, you ready to go?
Yeah, I'll go. So this may be one of my. It's other than one movie we're going to talk about, of course, this may be my favorite pirate movie, and it's Roman Polanski's Pirates.
You've talked about that on here, and I watched it as a kid and did not care for it, but I mean, I saw it when it came out in the 80s. I mean, I was young.
I never watched it in the 80s. I watched it
didn't care for it. So it's one of those I've never went back to watch. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I watched it 2 years ago. So that's why I like it so much, I guess, because I'm an adult and I liked it, but it was a financial failure.
Mm-hmm.
It would cost $30 million to make, mostly built on because it was mostly put towards the pirate ship, the Neptune, and it only grossed $10 million. It took in less than $1 million in ticket sales. That's how bad of a bomb this movie was. And it was such a bad bomb that to promote the film, Roman Polanski shipped out the Neptune to Cannes.
Yeah.
To promote the film, and it bombed so horribly that they just left it in Cannes in the harbor where it stayed until 2002. 16 years it stayed there, anchored to a stone jetty in the harbor because no one was sure what to do with it. It was moved to Genoa, Italy, where it is now a floating museum in the city's port. Which is so weird. But I loved this movie when I watched it a couple of years ago. Now, granted, there are some horrible aspects of this that is associated with Roman Polanski. It's also his first film after the big controversy with him. But originally it's a Walter Matthau as a pirate. That's all you need to know. And the movie opens up with Walter Matthau and this young boy stuck on a raft in the middle of the ocean, and Walter Matthau's having a nervous breakdown and is trying to eat the little boy.
And the scene I remember vividly is him trying to catch a fish with a silver. Is it like a earring or a piece of jewelry or something?
Yes.
Yeah. And
yes.
he swallows it and he's trying to pull it back out.
Yep. And it's stuck in there and he can't get it out.
Yep. I remember it from, I've never seen it. I haven't seen it since I was a kid. And I remember that scene vividly.
Yeah. And Walter Matthau is just a dirty person, a dirty pirate. He doesn't care about anyone. It's all about the bottom line with him, about getting treasure. He will walk over anybody. And he has this loyal boy named Frog who will do anything for him, get him out of any scrape. But Walter Matthau's character will literally eat him if he has to. And that's the whole relationship between the two. It is great. And I didn't know that Jack Nicholson was originally, he wanted Jack Nicholson to play the part.
Yeah.
But as with big actors, Jack Nicholson wanted more money. What? And it was outrageous salary demands. And this was when he was trying to get it made in the 70s, because it was over a decade of trying to get this film shot. And it was originally just going to be like a $15 million film. But over the course of the 12 years that he tried to get it made, it just ballooned up to 30 million because he wanted that ship. He wanted the exact replica of the ship, much in the same ways that Waterworld happened and other movies like Big went over budget because they wanted the props on the ocean to be so specific.
Who did we talk to about
another movie?
If you could demand it, wouldn't you?
What, James?
I mean, if you could demand it, wouldn't you?
I guess.
I don't know. I haven't been that crazy. There's certain not about a ship, James, but you're absolutely right. If there's certain, yes, I've screamed on less money. Is that what you're going about?
Yeah. Well, and I've been listening to, and I really recommend this. Is apropos of nothing that we're talking about, but it's been fascinating to listen to. Dave Morrell's Stars of Mines is the audiobook version. If you get a chance, check this out, because it's him going through about why he's obsessed with popular culture. And if you don't know who Dave Morrell is, I'm sure you've seen something that he's done and just don't know it. But he talks about what his obsessions are, and he goes through kind of like our show does, movies. He starts with he goes books, movies, and then music, and he goes through, and it's fascinating because he does an entire one on Steve McQueen, and I learned so much about how Steve McQueen was just a fascinating human being. May have been the Errol Flynn of his time.
Right.
Fascinating stuff. Anyway.
All right. So is that all you had to say about Pirates?
That's all I got.
All right. Well, I'm going to pull out unless James, you mind a jump. I'm going to pull out one that I watched a lot as a kid, but I haven't seen it as a kid. And I don't remember us talking about it on here, but we may have. So don't start yelling at me. Mine stars Tommy Lee Jones, Michael O'Keefe from Caddyshack, and actually has a script by John Hughes. Have you guys ever seen Nate and Hayes?
No. I've heard of Nate and Hayes. I have not seen it. By the way, you did say Michael O'Keefe, right?
Michael O'Keefe.
Because a lot of times you'll need Miles O'Keefe. Yeah, how much O'Keefe do you need in this movie? Miles O'Keefe.
So this is one that played, it wasn't really TBS, but I was lucky enough, if you've listened to the show before, I had a satellite dish and I had lucky enough to have access in the holler to be able to watch a lot of stuff. And Nate and Hayes, a Tommy Lee Jones pirate movie written by John Hughes. I shouldn't have to say anything else, right? Starring the kid.
I want to see this movie.
It's not stream. It came out from Paramount. So basically, here's the quick slug line: a swashbuckling adventure which takes place in the mid 1800s on the South Pacific Islands, where bloody raids and battles were once the rule of the day. I mean, Tommy Lee Jones plays Captain Bully Hayes, and Nathaniel Williamson is played by Michael O'Keefe, plays Nathaniel Williamson. He's kind of his young partner, and he gets into troubles. And I could sit here and tell you, but I don't really remember the plot. I just remember there's this whole thing at the end with this huge fat chief who's going to eat them, and he just shoots him. And it's such a ripoff of Raiders of the Lost Ark. And the studio was Paramount. Paramount made it. And it wasn't, they blamed some of it, on, is it a ripoff of Indiana Jones? Is it not? But also, Paramount was spending a lot of their time and attention. This movie was off shooting in New Zealand, wasn't paying any attention to it. And a lot of it was going to, it came out in 83. What was coming out the next year? Raiders of the Lost Ark and Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom got all the money, all the advertising. They was all going towards that. Does that make sense to you guys?
Yep.
And I just remember it, all these scenes in it. And honestly, until I looked it back up, I remember Tommy Lee Jones. I remember the death of the fat person at the end of it. Poor fat people.
And apparently
I could never, if you'd put a gun to my head, I was like, I didn't know Michael O'Keefe was in that.
It also has a different title. It also goes by Savage Islands. So it was the director. It was actually this director's it was his directorial debut in movies. He'd done nothing but TV beforehand.
And he does a lot of British television comedy.
Yeah.
Like he directed, what is it? House. I can't think of his name and the voice of the book from
Jeeves and Wooster.
Yeah. So it had a $12 million budget. Did not do as well as you want, but I don't think
as most pirate films are
tend to do. And I mean, they shot in New Zealand. I want to go back and watch it. And as I was looking back through, I was like, this is it. Nope, I couldn't find it streaming. I'm sure there's a copy out there for you all if you're looking, but it's like $11 to watch it on Prime, and I don't know that I recommend that at all. That's my next one, Nathan Hayes. You all usually have the obscure ones, and I love the fact that John Hughes is one of the screenwriters.
Yeah, none of mine are obscure, so I don't this time around.
And who said, let's get this guy? Actually, Tommy Lee is from Tennessee. He's not actually from Texas, or is he?
Tommy Lee Jones?
Yeah.
I just want to make sure you weren't talking about Pamela Anderson's ex.
No, I tried to get somebody to watch that with me the other day, and it was like, I don't want to watch it. And I was like, oh, well.
He is from San Saba, Texas.
He is from San Saba, Texas. So they want this Texan to play this pirate in the South Sea. Sorry. I mean, Tommy Lee Jones is a great actor, but Billy Bob Thornton talked about this. He's like, you can't get me to play Cary Grant.
No, well, but
right? It's just, I'm a good actor. I'm not playing, just like me. I cannot. I'm not Swaven DeBoner.
Wow, I am looking up some just really highlight videos of this movie. It is amazingly cheap looking.
Yeah. Oh, I just remember the cannibal tribe at the end of it, and the big fat chief about to eat them and them shoot. Maybe we should find this. Maybe the next time we get together, it should be this. And what was the other one we're going to watch?
We still got Shakma we've got to watch. And then there was, what was that one that we said, well, we watched Skidoo and we need to watch it. I can't remember the name of that one, but we need to watch it. So we've got about 3 or 4 films, gentlemen. We were woefully behind.
All right, James.
I want to talk about, one of the things that often happens with pirate films is they tend to be very, very British, right? They tend to be because pirates. But pirates did play a role in American history. And one of the ways they did involves a certain director who pirated himself on multiple occasions. Cecil B Demille. Cecil B Demille wasn't happy making the 10 Commandments once. He made it twice. He also wasn't happy making The Buccaneer once. The original one, I believe, was 1938. But in 1958, he wanted to make it again. Now, Cecil B Demille by 1958 was not in good health. So his son-in-law, a certain Anthony Quinn, took over the directing. Anthony Quinn's directing got rave reviews. So what did Cecil B Demille do? After it screened once at its premiere and it got rave reviews, he took it back and re-edited it We have never seen Anthony Quinn's actual version that he originally wanted. But if you're not familiar with The Buccaneer, it's about how piracy plays a role in the War of 1812. And if you were going to be in the 1950s casting somebody to play the role of General Andrew Jackson, who would you cast? Obviously, Charlton Heston. And if you were going to have to cast somebody as Mercier, for your French general, who would you cast? Obviously, Lauren Green.
Lee Jones.
No, Lauren Green. Lauren Green is obviously the only person that could play that French general. And of course, for your pirate, Jean Lafitte, you would have to cast Yul Brynner. Because nothing says I'm a French pirate like Yul Brynner. It's an interesting film. Much like the one you were talking about. I'm not saying you should go out and watch either the 1938 or the 1958 one, but Yul Brynner, Claire Bloom, Charles Boyer, Charlton Heston, Lauren Green, sit around and look at the cast and go, wow, they pulled that off. They did that. It's 2 hours long. It tells the story about how piracy was so important to the Battle of 1812. And historically, what's really interesting about that is the actions that this is based on actually happened after the War of 1812. It's just that the news hadn't reached them yet. So they were still fighting because they thought the war was still on. But the actual historical event didn't need to happen. But yes, if you've never seen The Buccaneer and you always feel like all pirate movies are overly British because of Treasure Island and stuff like that, good news, The Buccaneer is here. 1928 if you want the old school version. But if you want to see the colorful, technicolor Anthony Quinn directed, then taken back over by Cecil B. DeMille because he started to direct it, then he got sick. Check out 1958's The Buccaneer for your Yul Brynner, Charlton Heston team up fix in pirate form. Chad, they do a Western together?
Yul Brynner?
And Charlton Heston. It seems like they did another movie together, but am I making
I don't know. I thought I was like, he's in the Magnificent Seven.
Now I'm going to check that. Chad, go ahead so I can find out if they did Western, because it seems
We're
like
the shitty three. Chad.
So I don't know if we've talked about this one before. I know we've talked about it as friends, but I don't know if we've talked about it as a podcast. But I feel like as we have to bring it up simply because Gene Roddenberry called it the movie that was singularly responsible for
Horatio.
That was singularly responsible for bringing back the death penalty to California.
What? I thought you were going to go with something different.
I'm talking about ice series, but ice pirates. I got to talk about ice pirates.
Gene Roddenberry said that?
Yeah, Gene
Why?
Roddenberry. I don't have any other information.
Ice Pirates is fun. I was going to bring up Ice Pirates as my third one. If you son of a, I thought you might steal it because you saw it the other day.
They were in the Ten Commandments together. Sorry, going back to my Yul Brynner, and of course they were in the Ten Commandments together.
Let's get back to why Gene Roddenberry's a dick.
I don't know why he hates it so much. It is good fun.
It is a bad movie, but
it is a bad movie, but it is entertaining.
Yes,
it's entertaining. It's not meant to be Shakespeare.
Neither
was Shakespeare.
This is dead true. The movie is worth watching just for the ending.
It's true. Where they all get older and
they're just
babies,
fighting.
and the beards. Oh my God, poor Robert Urich. Oh, poor Urich. I knew him well.
Did you know Kevin Costner turned it down?
No. Why? It's not like he was going to have a career.
Kevin Costner was offered the role of Jason. He turned it down. It went to Robert Urich.
Good for him. Good for freaking him.
By the way, people, if you haven't seen Ice Pirates, it is a sci-fi movie that takes place in space. They called Ice Pirates because every world supposedly has lost all water for some reason that makes no sense. And there's one planet that has control of the entire water supply in ice form. Mm-hmm. And these people are stealing the ice, not for water, but for currency.
Yep.
Because that's how they trade back and forth. Think of it as a better put together. By the way, Kevin Costner turned down Ice Pirates, but 10 years, 20 years later, 10 years, 15 years later, he did Waterworld, which is basically the same thing.
Yeah. Ice Pirates is a really low budget film, and
which is part of its history, right? Originally, it was going to be a very serious film.
It was $20 million.
Yeah, and then MGM went, well, we don't want to spend that, and they slash it to 8, and then the writers went, well, now it's a comedy.
Yeah,
and they use all those Logan's Run sets, and
which I was about to say, which I love Logan's Run. That's a movie that needs an update. I would be okay with that as long as you don't destroy the original. If you come to my house and take my original Michael York Logan's Run, I keep.
Yeah, but how many people actually sit around and watch Logan's Run for fun?
James.
Other than James.
Come on, how can you not love Logan's Run? I know the effects are dated. I know
I like quoting Logan's Run.
It's a great story, but no, they have tons of Logan's Run stuff in it. And basically, it was meant to be, and correct me if I'm wrong, Chad, but it was meant to be a science fiction kind of version of Jason and the Argonauts, right?
Yes. That's why his name is Jason.
Yeah,
but they didn't get there.
Didn't happen. Didn't happen.
By the way, have you all ever looked at the movie poster?
Yes.
It is fantastic. What other movie poster do you have? C, Space Herpy, the love bug. C, ferocious space possums. And then also see great special effects, which I actually find more funny than
I may have the poster here. I need to go look.
And then also says see a universe on the rocks, and it literally is a spaceship that looks like an ice tray, and the ice cubes are falling out of it.
But it is I'm with Chad. I recommend it. My mom watched it a lot as a kid, and I have fond memories of it. I watched it a few years ago. It is so dated. Some of the jokes do not land today and in today's world. Offensive.
Right.
Oh yeah. I mean,
I don't get offended, but they are offensive.
And some of the jokes they did for 1984, I'm like, how did they even get this through? And I believe it's a PG-13 or no, it's a PG. Did they have a PG-13? Was PG-13 even available?
PG-13 and 80. Yeah, it should have been. I thought PG-13 came out with Temple of Doom. Is Temple of Doom the first one?
And Gremlins, right? Wasn't it Gremlins and Temple of Doom?
I thought Gremlins was the first use of PG-13.
I don't think it's Gremlins, guys. Give me a second.
But Ice Pirates is rated PG, guys. And we lost Joe. He muted his microphone. Ice Pirates is
Red Dawn.
PG. Seriously, I thought it was Gremlins.
Red Dawn.
Huh.
But it was 1984 in August.
So this movie is rated PG. It has a space herpy. It literally has a joke about Robert Urich giving oral pleasure to the lead actress, and not to mention all the jokes about penises. And it's rated PG.
Okay, so here's the story really quick about PG.
But they didn't say shit.
This would make a really interesting show that we may do later on. But PG actually, because parents were still pissed 3 months after Temple of Doom.
Yeah.
And when Red Dawn came out, it was the first one with PG-13, 3 months. Only 3 months after parents were outraged over the release of PG-rated Temple of Doom.
But how?
I did not know I put a gun to my head. I would have never said they blame Temple of Doom for creating it, but Temple of Doom didn't get it. The first one was Red Dawn.
So Temple of Doom, which honestly didn't have a whole lot involved for people to get upset about, but Ice Pirates went under the radar.
By the way, nobody saw Ice Pirates. Everybody and their mom was at Temple of Doom.
To the point, by the way, though, going back to Ice Pirates,
Jones.
Ice Pirates needs to get some attention for another reason.
Why's that?
Okay,
Bruce Valanche.
Everything needs more Bruce Valanche. I mean, if you
they didn't have him enough in there.
If you can't live in a world where you've still got Charles Nelson Riley and Paul Lynde, you best have Bruce Valanche. Now, that being said, the writers of Ice Pirates, I don't know if you looked at any of this, Chad, but one of them was Stanford Sherman. Stanford Sherman was known for writing The Man from U.N.C.L.E. and Batman episodes, the 60s Batman episode series. But he also wrote the great science fiction epic of our time, which, has been forgotten because of Star Wars.
Well, that couldn't have been better timing.
Kroll.
Yeah.
And then he wrote the 1983 The Man Who Wasn't There. And then he wrote Ice Pirates, and Ice Pirates was his last credit. But don't worry.
Man Who Wasn't There, starring Steve Guttenberg.
Yeah.
No one remembers that picture.
The director who
prefer
also
the Coen
was
Brothers
invisible.
version.
What'd you say?
I prefer the Coen Brothers.
Well, I probably do too. No one remembers the other one.
No.
The director was also the co-author. And I know what you're going. If Ice Pirates was the other guy's last film, what about him? What did he go on to do? Well, don't worry. He went on to direct other things and actually is still directing some stuff, or as of 2019 was. That being said, after Ice Pirates in 1984, he immediately followed that up with the film that is a classic about a kind alien that comes to Earth and enjoys McDonald's and Coca-Cola. He wrote Mac and Me.
Oh, best movie of all time.
Mac and Me. He followed Mac and Me up. He wrote the story that became Passenger 57. He wrote, Chad, your favorite film that involves a lady befriending a dinosaur, Tammy and the T-Rex.
I have seen Tammy and the T-Rex.
I have seen Tammy, and that is an interesting movie to talk about what they did to Whoopi Goldberg. No.
No, you're not talking. That's not Tammy.
No, that's not Tammy and the T-Rex. You're thinking about Theodore Rex.
Theodore Rex.
This
Tammy
is
and the
Denise
T-Rex
Richards,
has Denise Richards and
Paul Walker.
I
Fast and the Furious
apologize.
Paul Walker's
And by
riding
the
around
way-
on the.
I don't want to hear about Paul Walker. It has Bernie. Oh, I can never remember that character actor's name. He's a great character actor.
Terry
though.
Kaiser.
Terry Kaiser's is the mad scientist, Chad.
And relevant. I don't know if he's going to be at Scarefest this year. I know he's been at Scarefest in the past. Sean Whalen, sir, is also in.
Yeah, I apologize.
It's bloody awful.
Yeah, I got confused.
But it's a lot of fun.
But anyway,
I watched it about 2 years ago. Never seen it. It was awful.
He went on to also write The New Swiss Family Robinson, Survival Island, Bad Girl Island, which I assume is a follow-up to Survival Island, if you look at the poster for Survival Island. And he's I think
Bad Girl Island, Sandus Malloy and Tiffany Reed and Big Bad Hooters 2.
I love how we're talking about pirate movies.
Well, no,
he went off on a tirade.
I didn't want you to think Ice Pirates ended anybody's career. It didn't.
No, just Robert Urick's. It ended his film career. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
but he worked in TV. He's a good actor. So
Spencer.
who's next? He's for
You
hire
are.
right here. I am. So all right. So I'm actually through my Pirates films that I like. Okay. So a little context, because I think he gets shit on now, and I'm not getting into the politics. By the way, I actually had somebody ask me the other day if we were going to remove ourselves from Spotify. And the answer to that is it never occurred to me to do that. I didn't know anybody was listening to us on Spotify. And then I had to double check, and we are on Spotify.
Did you know, by the way, though, if anybody's actually read Neil Young, one of the things that he said, he goes, well, that's part of it, but also they downgrade the audio quality so much on Spotify.
Yeah, I know. All right, so it just clicked in my head at the same time, and I've been meaning to mention it to our listeners. Probably not going to do that. So, Pirates of the Caribbean: The Curse of the Black Pearl. They at that time, and what year is it? Is it 2003, 2004? 2003. So let me give you a little historical context. I mean, it's only 18, 19 years ago, but there really wasn't movies based on rides. The Haunted Mansion in this came out right about the same time, guys, right? Within a few months of one another.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Haunted Mansion was a big dud.
Before that, there was it was a Disney movie of the week for Tower of Terror with Steve
Guttenberg. Yep.
And Kirsten Dunst.
Yeah. But to do a big budget Pirates of the Caribbean, I think most people thought was the stupidest idea ever. Now, the original writers of this, when they wrote it, and they've said this before, Ted Elliott and Terry Rossio said that it was a fairly straightforward screenplay about pirates. And if you know anything about Jerry Bruckheimer, the super producer Jerry Bruckheimer, not only is he extremely successful, but he was one idea going, well, this is boring as hell. I want my pirates to be, there's ghosts and shit and all that other stuff. And let's just make it supernatural and have all these elements, which is why that in Johnny Depp, the reason the movie works to me. I rewatched it last summer with the kid. And if you don't take every sequel that was made after it that just got continuously worse somehow, some way, even when they just concentrated on what worked, it didn't work. You guys agree with that?
Mm-hmm.
So even when I was like, because is it the fourth one when they finally got rid of the two lovers and it was just Johnny Depp and I was like, oh yeah, that's what I want to see, and it doesn't work. And then they made another one after that doesn't work. But they all made money. And it's hard to tell you just how much fun it was that summer in the cinema to watch Johnny Depp do that performance, because it was unlike anything we'd ever seen before in this strange movie that was so big, so expensive, elaborate, and it all worked and was so much fun. It was truly, I don't care for the term or the coin of phrase, but it truly was just a good popcorn movie. And if you look at it just as that one, it's still a lot of fun.
Oh no, it's still. I showed it to my kids, and they got into it. I mean, it's just.
I showed it to my oldest daughter. She really loves it.
Does she like it too? So mine did too. And if you just now you don't think of Johnny Depp then, but Johnny Depp was never in a hit, rarely. And if he was, it was directed by Tim Burton, and he was this art house darling for the most part. A lot of independent cinema. People love Johnny. We all three love Johnny. Thought he was a great actor, but you'd never seen anything like this, or him try, or someone of that ilk do this kind of thing in a big budget movie. And most people, I think this is probably well tread now, is that the studio wanted to fire him. They thought he was being too gay, and I'm not. That's literally what was said.
Yeah. Which now,
now it's, but back to what we've often talked about on here before, like when we were visiting The Matrix and other films, it's, you have to go back in time and you have to think about it at that. There was nothing quite like it.
No. And it was the first, I mean, we talked about a lot of pirate films, but with few exceptions, Blackbeard's Ghost being the only one that comes to my mind, there weren't supernatural ghost movies, not major movies, not blockbuster films.
No.
I mean, it was the first one that came out, like, and I mentioned Blackbeard's Ghost, but that was not a major movie when it came out. It was a cheaply made Disney film.
Yeah.
I mean, it was one of their live action cheapies. Roll them out, keep them rolling, get them in cinemas. But no, it is of its time. I mean, now that big epic on the water film, and there were some before then, Waterworld, stuff like that, but on that level with the supernatural, it didn't matter what you wanted. If you wanted comedy, Pirates of the Caribbean, The Curse of the Black Pearl worked. If you wanted, action, it worked. If you wanted supernatural, I mean, the first time I saw the trailer and they revealed the pirate skeletons walking under I was like, whoa, that's not pirates that I knew, but you have my attention, sir. And so, I agree. It's just something that
now a little bit of the history of it. The studio wanted Matthew McConaughey because they thought he looked like Burt Lancaster for the history of it. And I didn't realize it had been developed for a while. And if it had they were going back and forth of whether to actually do a big budget film or whether it'd be another one of those, and Disney made a fortune on it, direct to video.
Mm-hmm.
If it had been direct to video, do you know who their choices were? Christopher Walken and Carrie Ellis. Wouldn't that have been
I'd kind of like to see that.
I would have too.
Yeah.
Jim Carrey was considered for the part of Jack Sparrow too. But
it would have been a completely different movie.
But it conflicted with Bruce Almighty. Michael Keaton, Christopher, all these people were talked about. Oh, and I forgot about the other one that absolutely died the year before that was based on it. Do you guys remember The Country Bears?
Oh, yes. Yeah. Which did have Christopher Walken, speaking of which.
Right. Yeah.
I still have not made it with it. I've tried to watch that movie. I cannot get through it. It's one of those unwatchable movies, and my next movie that I'm going to bring up falls into that category.
Right. I enjoy it. I could go on and on about it. It's just hard to relate that Johnny Depp the character was just so different than anything we'd ever seen.
Yeah. And then they had to go make a bunch of more sequels that just
all made money.
But man, they were not.
They got
good.
Progressively worse. I agree.
Yeah.
All right. Who's next?
I want to talk about what is it me?
I want to talk about this gravy. Why isn't there enough gravy?
All right. Well, I'm going to start by naming off the talent that was involved in this. First, it was created by the producer of such things as Child's Play and An American Tale and and Hocus Pocus.
Oh shit!
Irvin,
it's Kirshner.
David Kirshner. Yes, yeah. Absolutely. David Kirshner created this. He didn't just produce; he created. It features once again Tim Curry, Roddy McDowall, Brock Peters, Peter Cullen.
Optimus Prime.
Yeah.
Well, I know who Peter Cullen is. I didn't know he also did Eeyore later on.
Yeah.
And you
why are you doing more dramatic pauses? This is
I'm sorry. I was letting y'all finish. Dan O'Hurley. Mm-hmm. I'm sure I'm mispronouncing that, but the
old man from RoboCop.
But I refer to the classic animated series, which got one season and then got put into syndication, The Pirates of Darkwater.
Never watched it.
I enjoy it. I actually own it. I have a copy. Yeah.
David Kirshner created that. Now, obviously, Roddy McDowall only did the first movie, which it was a 5-episode premiere. He gets replaced by, I'm assuming.
Why was he replaced? Is this another one? Were they trying to take away Roddy's money?
Well, he did the voice of the Niddler, the character Niddler. He was replaced by Frank Welker.
Yeah,
because Frank Welker was on. I assume it was a money issue, or I mean,
he died.
I'm assuming it was he died issue, probably.
Roddy McDowall died way too early of cancer. We keep going.
But anyway, if you've never seen Pirates of Darkwater, it's set on an alien planet. It's not Earth.
Where can you get it?
Is it on DVD still, Chad?
It's on.
We can't hear a word you said. You're muted.
Yes, it's on DVD. It's the Warner's Archive.
Okay, so it's a Warner's Archive, but it's originally Hanna-Barbera, so that would make sense.
No.
And so it originally premiered as a 5-part miniseries on Fox Kids.
Yes.
It has a messed up history though, because the first season, then after the 5-part miniseries, it moved to ABC from September to December of 1991. And then the second season went into syndication. So it started at Fox, went to ABC, and then went into syndication.
Right.
Which makes it really hard to track. And I still don't know if I've seen every episode of it.
I can say that we were more than happy to
borrow it off of you but it's basically about there's this alien world called Myrrh, and there's a substance called Darkwater, and Darkwater is destroying the planet. And you have Ren and his friend Stimpy. They have to go. No, you have Ren, and he has to go and find the treasure. And the treasure is it's called the 13 Treasures of Rule, I think is what it's called.
Mm-hmm.
And he has to find these treasures to stop the destruction of the planet. There you go. That's your overarching story. And it's about how they steal a ship. They have to go out and stop this from happening. And of course, they're pursued by villains. And the villains were Bloth was voiced by Brock Peters. If you don't know Brock Peters is most famously, to me, the villain in Star Trek VI, one of them, and also Captain Sisko's dad. Anybody else want to give Brock Peters any shout outs?
Oh man. Yeah, if you had
a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I'm blanking.
Brock Peters is also in To Kill a Mockingbird. He was in the 1959 film version of
I was trying to say To Kill a Mockingbird, and my mic was unmuted. Let's pause real quick.
But Brock Peters was also Darth Vader.
I've never listened to those. Is that the BBC radio dramas they did for Star Wars and Empire?
Yeah. He also was in Soylent Green. He was one of the people.
He's one of the people who were Soylent Green, because they're people too. Edible.
Yeah.
Delightful.
But anyway, no. So Pirates of Darkwater.
I think we need to start getting towards the end, gentlemen. James is.
Well, I was listening, this may be our least put together. You're going to fix this in post, right? You're not going to post this the way it is, are you?
I mean, I'll look at it.
No.
I don't like listening to us. Mick is the only one who enjoys listening.
No, and even he, I think, is wearing thin.
He's wearing thin.
So no, but anyway, yeah, Pirates of Darkwater. I wanted to bring up something that wasn't a movie, and as we mentioned earlier, there's tons of pirate books too. Captain Blood being an example.
Yeah.
By the way, real quick, do you have another one, Chad?
I have one more.
Okay, go ahead, because I want to ask a question to wrap us up.
And we're just going to bypass Peter Pan altogether.
I mean, we did. I feel like so I can talk about Peter Pan. We covered that when we were talking about shit that never needs to be made again.
Yeah. I remember. I do not care for. And yeah, I'm just like,
I like the story. I like the story. I enjoy it. I don't know that it.
And
I'm okay with.
Suicide.
No, it's painless though, from what I've heard. Made a whole song about it. What I was going to say is, what I'm okay with is what Disney did when they spun off the Tinkerbell series. And if you watch those movies, I watch them because of my children, but especially when she was younger, my daughter was really into them. But they actually tell a complete, compelling story. And then the last one, which has Loki. Why can't I remember Loki's name?
Tom Hiddleston.
Tom Hiddleston is the voice of young when they merge those worlds back together, because they're all prequels. And when you finally see them come together, it makes sense, because you're like, well, Tinkerbell can talk all of a sudden, but then when you see her through human eyes, it can't. And so it's really well done. So if I say all that to say, if you feel the need, Hollywood, to make another Let's Connect This to Peter Pan world, don't do Peter Pan again. Do something unique with it. And I will give Disney, and I know Disney did it because bling bling $dollars, but they did made it at least entertaining when they did Tinkerbell as a prequel.
The only Peter Pan that I find enjoyable to wrap into TV again was Peter Pan and the Pirates, which was a Fox animated show
and was based a little bit closer on the books, right?
It was really darker in tone, and it had Tim Curry again as Captain Hook.
You don't enjoy the Disney version?
I don't. Never have. It's right up there with Pinocchio with me. I never could get into either one of them.
The only thing Chad enjoys about that is what happened to the voice of Peter Pan. You sick freak.
God, that is such a dark story.
I really don't know that story.
Oh, man.
He's buried in an unmarked grave. You know that island where they're burying all the COVID people off the coast of New York? Yeah, his body's there.
Oh,
it's
really?
an unmarked grave.
Yeah, it's a terrible, terrible story.
He died with nothing.
Well, I enjoy. We rode the ride with the kid there at the Disney, and it's always got a 45-minute wait.
Yeah,
and my kids weren't a fan of it either. Neither was I. I'm like, this is something.
He enjoyed the Tinkerbell in the rooms as you're going through the wait more than I think he actually enjoyed the ride.
So,
what's your last part? Pirates.
My first two have been bombs, and I'm not stopping here. John Cleese calls this one of the 6 worst films made in the history of the world.
Yellowbeard.
I couldn't finish watching it.
Ding.
Did I tell you all that because you all give me, and rightfully so, that is one of the best casts ever. You gave me shit about never watching it, and I tried watching it, and I never finished it.
I will give you this, Joe. I understand that.
And even though I liked lines in it, like him just yelling shit, Chapman yelling at the lady and like calling her a whore. It's funny. It's about damn near unwatchable.
I don't agree with you there, but it is not a good film.
I never finished it. I know I need to go back and watch it, but
I seriously enjoy it. That whole third act is trash. It's just trash. It doesn't make any sense. There is nothing even remotely funny about it. It loses all humor, especially when it's the ending. Tommy. Is it Tommy Chong?
I don't know. Tommy Chong and Cheech.
Yeah, Tommy Chong is the villain, and he talks with a lisp for some reason. Nothing about it is funny, but the whole build up to that third act, I enjoy. I do, and I know it's trash. I do, but it is funny. And like I said, there are lines in it that I still love to quote to this day. But yeah, even Eric Idle said it's one of the worst movies he's ever done. But he said it was one of the best times he could be in a movie. And if you don't know what Yellowbeard is, it actually was Graham Chapman's. It was one of his pet projects. He worked really hard to get this film made. It's all based around Edward Blackbeard Tetch. I think it's Tetch. And it's his take on it. And he worked really hard to get this film made. And it really is terrible. He died shortly after this film was finished. It also killed Marty Feldman. he died during production.
Food poisoning, right?
It said of a heart attack.
Oh, I thought it was like food poisoning caused something else. Maybe I've got that backwards.
No, it was. He was under. Yeah, it was. I mean, he was very, very ill, and they said it overcomplicated his heart. Is what I came to understand. I've been on a Marty Feldman kick lately.
Yeah, this movie,
his biography.
I actually watched his Muppets the other day.
This movie killed so many legends. It's insane. Do you know who was originally supposed to be Yellowbeard? Keith Moon.
That makes sense in the sense of people don't know just how close the Pythons were to all the rock and roll stars of the time.
Right.
And how the first two movies were basically bankrolled by rock and roll.
Yeah. He really wanted to play this movie. He really wanted to play the part, but he couldn't do it because he was so sick from the insane amount of alcohol. He actually died in 1978, which was around the time they started shooting this film. The only other thing that it was going to be almost an all British cast, but the producers who were American said, no, we need to have an American actor in this. And that's why we get Martin Hewitt.
The great Martin Hewitt.
Yeah. Originally his part was supposed to be, Martin Hewitt plays Dan, who's the son of Yellowbeard. And Sting was supposed to get that part.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be Sting, but the American producers, the Hollywood executive said, this is becoming too British.
He would have to wait to do Dune and then The Bride.
Yeah. So, it could be say that Sting dodged a bullet, but then he did Dune. But yeah, no.
Dune's more watchable than Yellowbeard.
Oh.
Yeah, I have to kind of agree with Joe on this.
Yeah,
That hurts me. It hurts me to do.
I will agree with you, but man.
I've sat through Dune.
At least Yellowbeard, I did too, but at least Yellowbeard made me laugh.
What? Laugh? Don't you remember the fall of the House of Atreides? Laughed so hard.
Yes, laughed and laughed.
So James, do you like Yellowbeard? I don't know if we've ever talked about this.
I'll be honest, I haven't. I've seen it, but it is kind of like the Jabberwocky film in my head. It is something I have watched, but if you held a gun to my head and said, what's your favorite part of it? I'd be like, I vaguely remember an opening. It was Jabberwocky, by the way. It's the scene going through the woods, right? Jabberwocky opening.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, no, there's I need to go back and watch it, Chad. It's literally been, I probably was about 15 or 16, and that's been about 6 months ago. So it's out of my head.
Yeah, no,
it's 6 months.
Yeah, it's not a good film. I will freely admit there will be times where me and Joe argue where he trashes movies that I like, and I strongly disagree with him. I will give him that this one is not a good film.
And you're watching it and you're like, oh man, it's got everybody.
It's got Peter Boyle. It's got, everybody who's ever worked with Mel Brooks or Monty Python for the most part.
Sucks rocks.
And then it also has got Cheech Marin and Tommy Chong, and it was such a waste of potential. And I wish I could have. And apparently Graham Chapman thought this was the best thing since sliced bread. And that's the only reason John Cleese did this is he felt like he wanted to be a friend to Chapman. So he did the film because Chapman thought this was going to be a great film, but it just did not work out. And Mel Damsky, who is still directing to this day, he was the director, but yeah, he just couldn't make it work. So unfortunately, I just had to talk about Yellowbeard.
All right, let's wrap it up, guys. What is it, James? You want to ask one last question?
I wanted to ask you all. So one thing that we've talked about traditional pirates.
Yeah.
So those would be ocean faring pirates.
Hold on, I'm going to see. Okay, keep going.
Like
there's
Captain
two
Phillips
other subgenres of pop culture pirates that we did not touch
this could
on.
go wrong quick.
That are appropriate for children. That help.
Yeah.
That are huge parts of pop culture now. And
okay, it took us an hour and 3 minutes to at least innuendo that joke
in different times.
20 years ago, we would have made it.
Yeah.
Those would be space pirates.
Yeah.
And air pirates.
Yeah.
Yes.
I thought it'd be a nice way to end. What's your favorite of those two options? I mean, not that, but I mean, who do you consider the greatest space pirate?
Jason from Mice Pirates.
Okay.
Oh man.
I'm serious. Who's better?
Mal.
Oh shit! I didn't even think about that. That whole movie's about pirates.
Well, actually, some people argue Han Solo is one too, right?
Yeah.
He's a smuggler. He's all of that stuff.
I'm still sticking with Jason from Mice Pirates.
Nobody in our group picked Tex Hex from Brave Star.
No, because I don't remember it unless
Let me make this worse. We could have mentioned Captain Harlock, which is an animated series, anime series, but that's probably beyond us. Nobody went with my favorite one, and I didn't even know they brought him back in the newest series, Captain Cracker. Do you remember Captain Cracker, Chad?
No.
From Thundercats? His gimmick was he's a space pirate, and he has a pirate or a robot parrot too. So he's a robot, and the parrot's a robot.
I forgot his name was Captain Crackers.
Captain Crackers. Yep.
So there's also a whole group of Thundercats villains called the Berserkers, who are essentially just pirates. Yeah.
But nobody else also selected Brack from Space Ghost, who is indeed his profession is space pirate.
I am shocked. I did not know that.
If I could change my voice to be anything, it would probably be to walk around and sound like Brack.
Hey, you don't touch me. Anyway, the other one that probably deserves a pop culture shout out. The other one that probably deserves, as far as space pirates, deserves a pop culture shout out that nobody's going to remember. If either of you know this character, Black Barney. Anybody?
No.
Nobody?
No, just need the purple one.
That's for your old school Buck Rogers fans. That's from the actual strip, not from the Gil Gerard series. Anyway, air pirates.
I don't know many air pirate films. I'm trying to think.
Not films, but one air pirate. I know you do.
Who?
Because he's even popped up in the new DuckTales series. Don Carnage.
No.
From Tailspin.
Yeah, I forgot about Don Carnage.
Also, another great example that's in a fun movie that a lot of people don't talk about, but you do have Captain Shakespeare, played by Robert De Niro in Stardust.
Oh, yeah. Stardust, I need to go back. That's another one I need to go back and rewatch because it didn't work for me when I saw it.
No, it's not great. It's trying to be a little bit too much Princess Bride.
But I've never read the book either. Have you all ever? That's Gaiman, right?
Yeah.
Neil Gaiman.
Yeah. But it's fun. I mean, I enjoyed the movie. We saw it in theaters, and my kids have watched it since. So, and in speaking of Peter Pan remakes, there is in Pan, Blackbeard is a air pirate.
Oh, really?
So So anyway, I wanted to bring up those two other options and mention them briefly because if not, somebody will be offended that we left out their favorite space pirate, air pirate. And I'm sure we still left out some, but hey, I tried. Get off my back.
All right, guys. Well, I hope you've enjoyed our pirate episode as much as we have. I know we need to watch more pirate movies. We apologize. This has been Bonehead Weekly.